Right, welcome to Street Talk for this week, and we have got 7 stories to cover this week, kind of. We're going to start... It's just a lot of misery this week, wasn't it? I did mention it on Wednesday's Street Talk shorts, but the overall feeling this week was just kind of sad, and that's not really our bag for Coronation Street. I think it was an okay week, but...
This week sponsored by Angel Delight.
What? Yeah, I know that Gemma is definitely not a fan of the sad times in Weatherfield.
Listen, it's difficult to know because Gemma is becoming a more important character. Whether you're talking about me... You are not a fan of sad times in Weatherfield. You prefer... That's what I just... What do I like? I don't know.
Happy. Well, you prefer the murder. Where's Stephen? What's he up to?
I don't like sadness. I like murder.
Yeah.
Right, so what's been happening?
We've got poor Paulie Paul we're going to start off with, and it's combined with the Gematrimony storyline, because that was miserable. Then we've got, I like this, my storyline title for Faye's leaving.
It was good.
Yeah, I said to you, I can't remember who the actors are that are in it. What did I say to you? Gemma, what's your favourite film starring Nicolas Cage and John Travolta?
Yeah.
Face Off.
Yeah, Face Off is my favourite film, but then we watched it the other day and it's not as good.
Not that good, is it? So Face Off is number 2. She has left the show. We talked about her a lot in this week's bonus
90s.
podcast, where we did a revisit of the Faye Windass character profile. We're probably just going to repeat ourselves in this.
And if you were put off by the fact it's Faye, and you're not that bothered, here's an enticement.
Well,
I had a rant.
Yeah, there was a rant involved in that. We got a fair number of likes on our tweet this week for the Faye character profile. I think it's because I had a nice picture of her in it.
Good.
Dimbo Italiano, isn't it? I mean, a lot of the other stories were very, very minor, weren't they? So we'll talk about Isabella and Brian coming up next. Then we've got Sam loses hope. He ditches her, doesn't he?
Good.
Yeah, on Monday's episode. That was quite explosive and fun. I'm really I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel for my next storyline title. Royaled flushed. Like a royal flush. Royaled flushed.
No,
like,
next.
Sorry. Tile Street
is back. What's the name of the dog? Freddie?
Yeah. Freddie, will Roy be daddy? What would you do?
I don't know. I would think a bit more about it.
You ever think about that one? The Tile Street story from a year ago has come back because they have mentioned the scaffolding this week, and I strongly predict that it's going to play a part in next week's shenanigans on the street, and there was also a little bit of Acid Ryan as well, which we shall also cover towards the end. So I'll do the Paul story if you like, Jen, because I know you've got an awful lot to say about the Faye storyline, so I'll save your breath.
How rude!
Until
I'm
then.
not saying anything else I haven't said already.
No, I know. Well,
I've already said everything I want to say.
We say it twice.
I know. That's my motto in life. I never say anything twice.
So
I always say that.
Starts off the week fairly positive for Paul and Billy. They're having their breakfast in the flat, fairly chirpy and everything. And Billy's saying, "Oh, what's going on with your appointments and everything at the hospital for your funny hand?" And Paul says, "I need to get it rescheduled. It's fine. I'm going to be fine." So they start off and everything's hunky dory. Meanwhile, Ches, he's managed to get, things are looking good for the wedding. He's got a cake from someone he used to know on the market, but is now a professional baker. Handy.
I hope it's not an old cake from when the market was open.
Me too. It could be, wedding cakes last for ages, doesn't it? This could be fine.
Oh, well, it's still going, isn't it?
Where is that? We haven't got a wedding cake anymore.
Nobody ate it.
Yeah. The sound system sorted. It's all going well, basically. This, the beginning of this week really didn't set an accurate impression for the general tone of the rest of the week, did it? And then Paul is there as well. He gets a call from Dee Dee, who wants to meet him in the lawyer's office. So he tells her he's been looking into these wonder drugs for MND. And then there's this miracle cure. Oh, is it supposed to be a cure? Is it just something that, prolongs life and makes it not so hideous and
I don't know, sweetheart.
And short. But I don't know. Whatever it is, he's been reading up about it on the net, and she says,
Did you write it down?
No, I didn't. I don't think you should really, be banking on this.
She's like, I watched the Ollie thing, and this happened with that as well.
Well, yeah, remember
I do.
Leanne and Dr. Krankenhaus, and that didn't work, did it? Is it feeling a bit repetitive with it? I don't know.
No,
maybe.
I mean,
I suppose in these situations, people would maybe do that.
It feels repetitive in the same way that anything that's based on reality goes through the same.
Yeah, it's not. It's not unusual, I guess, for people with dire diagnoses.
I would be looking up anything I could.
Yeah, but Dee Dee's telling him, look, you could be getting your hopes up here, and I think you need to be realistic about this. And he's like, well, this has made me feel hopeful for the first time in weeks, actually, so screw you, Dee Dee.
If there's anything that's actually going to help you, they would have brought it up. They're not going... When he walks out of the appointment going, thank goodness he didn't bring up that miracle drug. We want to keep it a secret because we want all the profits for ourselves.
Yeah. So he goes along to the hospital and he's talking to this nurse there about this wonder drug. And the guy says, look, I've heard of it, but it's only as successful in a very small number of cases. So people with particular genetic codes or whatever.
Yeah, I don't
know.
You didn't write down what it was, so I didn't look this up, but I assume it's involved with genetics.
Yeah.
Because he asked him, does anyone else in your family have this?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not come up.
You got to have these tests, and if you're a potential match, but it's very, very low %. One
thing I haven't sort of seen in the show that I would be interested in is if at any point Paul gets worried that Gemma might have this as well, or gets guilty about the idea that she might contract this, because they're twins. I know they're not identical.
Is it supposed to be a
surely there's a genetic
kind of thing?
I think the more that people learn about genetics, that eventually we're going to realise that you're susceptible to certain things more. I think we're learning that now, but I think eventually, once we can map everything, you're going to be able to know what you're specifically more likely to get.
No, you're right. That hasn't come up, but I suppose it'd be natural, especially if you're a twin, to think.
But again, I don't know. It's mysterious, isn't it? I think, and it's scary how mysterious. Yeah. Some medical things are.
Well, the person that Paul is talking to in the hospital here isn't actually his own nurse. It's just some medical bloke that's just walking down the corridor,
nurse,
and he says, "Look, maybe you should come back and talk to your own nurse about this, and maybe he'll be able to set you straight." So later on, Paul's back on the street. He's taking Joseph to Little Big Shots, which is still going on in the background. I don't know whether this is turning into a story about something, but they've been mentioning on and off over the few weeks, haven't they, about children going off to the community centre for Little Big Shots, and it's not turned into anything yet, so watch this space there. Apparently today's lesson was holding a microphone and faking confidence.
Oh, he doesn't. They do that every week.
That's us. That's what we're doing right now, isn't it? We know exactly what happened in Corrie this week. Rita's with Gemma in the is she in the pub or home? I can't remember. They're talking weddings later anyway. And Rita says, if you're feeling a bit strapped for cash and everything, I'll put some money behind the counter at the Rovers, and we can have a combined stag and hen do. And Gemma's like saying, brilliant, I will accept charity from you. She's very, very choosy about who she's going to say yes to her money from, isn't she? But that's all sorted for Wednesday. How lovely. So Billy, meanwhile, is going over to number 5. Not meanwhile, sorry. Later on, goes over to the house to see if Paul's there. He's not. So then he gets chatting to Gemma, and she tells him about this joint stag and hen do. Sounds good, says Billy. Everyone's cheerful. Back Billy goes. There was also, does anyone else like this? The little scene between Aggie and Dee Dee that they had at the Rovers later that episode. They're just talking about feeling sorry for Amy and children growing up fast and stuff, and I kind of plonked it in this story, even though it wasn't particularly anything to do with this, but it had Dee Dee in, it had a nurse in, so I thought it was lovely. I like the Baileys. I do like the Baileys. And those little scenes, I think on Monday there were a few scenes like that. There was a Tim and Faye scene, I think, on the same episode, which was just two people who, are related, two characters are related, having lovely chats together. More of that, I say. So then we have a really tragic couple of scenes for Billy and Paul, and this is where it all ramps up for the week. So Billy has got the idea into his head that he'd like to adopt a kid, and he really chooses his timing pretty poorly, doesn't he? Here.
Why? Okay.
Why what?
Just why? Why now?
Just because to add to the drama.
If he waits long enough, someone will have a baby and he'll just be able to take that, which I'm sure he's dying to.
Billy's thinking my biological clock's ticking here. Not that you need it, but
I know, but he's kind of all right, this is okay.
Are you thinking about whether it's sensible what you're about to say? Are you going to regret saying?
No, I'm just wondering how many people are going to get offended. It's just it's like adopting a dog. It's 15 years of your life, get another one when it goes, off to university or dies or whatever, depending on if it's a dog or a kid. I can probably fit 3, 4 in.
He's just got a heart full of love, as Billy, and he needs someone to share it with. I think it is a little bit previous thinking about.
He should look into getting a cat.
No, not with Freddie on the street. He's going to chase him. Wasn't it nice to see a cat on the street?
It was.
For the first time in I don't know when. Years, probably. It was
literally years.
Yeah. No, I think that he's not been going out with Paul for that long.
I don't think he
feels a bit too soon.
I really don't think they'd let him adopt a kid just because he's got an urge and.
No, just because I kind of fancy it. I mean, if you look at the romantic journey that Billy's been on over the years, like sometimes he's with Todd, sometimes he's with Paul, sometimes he's with Sean, and sometimes he seems to be a massive menage a quatre with all. So I don't know. It's not necessarily a strong and stable home life.
I don't know.
Just because he's the archdeacon, it doesn't mean you get a free pass to the front of the queue.
Maybe you get a free kid. Maybe they just fish out the font and see whether there's any left.
Any left over? Oh, this was in there from Sunday service.
Do you know what? I remember this going in now. Oh no.
Anyway, so Paul's like, no, can't have a kid. Obviously, he's thinking. I'm deteriorating fast. Just waiting to get to Wednesday's episode.
I won't even be around for it to get out of nappies.
No, now is not the time. But he obviously can't tell Billy this because he's keeping it a super secret that Billy's never going to find out about. And Billy's like, oh, I thought you'd be up for the idea, but yeah, okay, yeah. Really? Paul? He says he's accepting, but you know what Billy's like? Once he gets an idea, he's like, oh, come on.
Hang on, it's not just Billy, it's any character. Like, if they decide they're moving to Slough, if they decide that they're going to Australia, if they decide that they're going to, I don't know, take up...
I just think that Billy in particular likes to think that he's right and he gets his own way, and if he kind of, clenches his hands together and...
There's nothing wrong with that.
Because he's the archdeacon, I'm definitely right. And But anyway, he does sense that something's up with Paul, and Paul's like, look, just leave it, Billy. Maybe I'll think different in a year or two, just not now. And Billy's like... Yeah, but it'd be really, really... Don't you want to have a kid around the house? Isn't it brilliant having some? I think of all the robots that we could have. And Paul says, fine, I'll think about it. And he heads out.
Well, really? What can he lose about saying, I'll think about it? Because he knows that in a week's time, he's going to tell Billy that the situation is not exactly as
he doesn't know it's Britain Got Talent Week.
No, but he knows he's going to tell them after the wedding. That's his plan.
His plan was to tell them after. Well, that's what he said to Dee Dee.
I do think there's an element of, I'm just never going to tell anybody. There's always going to be a reason why.
When you've got something that you don't want to do, you can say, I'm just going to put it off until X, and then X happens, and it's like, now's not the right time. I mean, the way things transpired, the decision was made for him. It's better, and even if Billy hadn't miraculously found this letter from the court at home, which is a bit of a weak reason for him to be there, but even Paul's obviously getting a lot worse fast, so Billy was going to find out eventually. But
anyway,
yeah. So Paul's like, I've got so much going on my head at the moment, I can't speak to you about it. So he goes out for a spot of action cam crying on the wall outside the medical centre, and isn't that a tragic way to end the episode, ladies and gents? It was horrible. So Wednesday's episode starts.
Hang on, there have been so many times when I've been watching Coronation Street recently with Paul, and there's just a scene where he's sort of his condition is progressing in a negative way, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can watch this anymore. It's just horrible.
I'm not feeling it as affecting as the Sinead storyline, and I know that was the one for you that was like, nope, I'm not watching that. I think maybe possibly the Sinead was worse for me because I liked the character of Sinead a bit more. She was like the damsel in distress and everything. I thought that the relationship between Sinead and Daniel, forget about the Bethany situation. I thought they were a quite nice couple. But with Paul and Billy, I'm still not completely feeling them as a definite couple. It was more a case of Corrie's put them together so that because they had this idea for this story, and wouldn't it be tragic if he was going out with someone? I'm still, I just don't feel the same romantic vibes between them. I don't know whether the chemistry is there, but I think Peter Ash is honestly, he is handling this really well. And that scene where he was up against the wall on Monday is fab.
It's horrific.
I'm not as sad because it's Paul. That's all. I'm sorry to say.
Can I ask a question? And this is also to the viewers too. Do you feel as though you're more sympathetic when it's a woman? I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, and I don't need you to answer necessarily, but I'm just wondering, is there an element here of our sympathies are kind of trained to react differently to a young, beautiful woman
I think there's definitely
experiencing some kind of tragedy versus, kind of a sort of, not middle age, but he's of working age, he's a kind of a competent grown man.
I think so. I think there's definitely an element of that in there. It is partly to do with the popularity of the character, but I think, we've all got this, we want to say, it's going to be okay
to a because we're primed as a culture
in distress
to react differently to different people.
When with Sinead as well, there was the whole Bertie angle to it, wasn't there? There was a lot more reason for us to care about it, I feel. I don't know.
But it's just an interesting thing to consider, your reaction, and not to it's definitely not a negative thing to examine your reactions to things and realise that sometimes you have a different way of reacting to something. And even if you're listening to this and you're thinking, no, I feel completely differently about it, even that is worth thinking about. Why do I feel this way about this character? Is it something about the way I feel about the character? Is it the actor? Is it the situation? Do I know somebody similar to Paul, but I didn't know anyone similar to Sinead? It's just really interesting. I do think there's a bias, cultural bias.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think that some people, again with the Sinead story, a lot more people know people who have had cancer than motor neurone disease.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's maybe bringing back more real life bad memories for
and
some
also,
people.
It's a very traditional thing on Coronation Street to kill young mothers.
That's true. So Wednesday's episode, oh my gosh, things take a massive turn for the worse there. His right leg has pretty much, gone overnight. He's walking through the flat and he's kind of wobbling all over the place.
Horrific.
And I didn't know when this was going to start to happen. I mean, he's given the 3-year diagnosis, wasn't he, or prognosis or whatever, a couple of months ago. And I'm thinking, maybe it's going to be, months and months before other things start. But it's just like, nope, leg's gone.
This is why I think they don't like telling you stuff like this in the hospital. And they said, it could be 3 years. But you hear 3 years, and we're not even Paul, and we've gone 3 years. Okay, we've got 3 years. That's not necessarily the case.
No. I mean, it's 3 years on a... If he's lucky, isn't it?
This is like, we know people listening know people who've had this, and so I wish this was a fictional thing that didn't exist. I wish this was a horrible made up fake illness that nobody ever had to cope with, because watching this and knowing that people that we really like and appreciate have experienced this for real, watching somebody go through this is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I feel so bad for him. Like, I make jokes about it and stuff on the podcast and everything, but I was like, oh no, that's it's awful. And he's just like there hobbling over to the sofa and he's trying to act normal when Billy comes in, but the look on his face when to realise like that I know what's going on. This is what the worst that I feel. Also,
to sort of talk about our experiences when it comes to sort of illnesses or terminal illnesses, is to talk about cancer. And cancer has a very logical, traditional, what's the word? Arc of progress. Like when you know someone who's got cancer, and it's sad and it's tragic. I'm not taking it that away from it at all. We know this. You watch them and they get sicker, and then they end up in bed, and then eventually, they pass away. This is a completely different and shocking progression of an illness that attacks you in a way that is unexpected to a lot of people, because Paul just seems completely healthy. He can do. He's talking. He's not faint. He's not off his food. He's not. You know what I'm trying to say?
And he's not having to go through any treatment that's making him sicker as well. Because, lots of people with cancer will have the chemo, and that's what makes you think he's not got that because
and he's not like he's taking to his bed.
No.
He's trying to work, but his body is shutting down. And his leg doesn't work, and his arm doesn't work. It's just a really unexpected and therefore even more shocking and frightening deterioration of his condition.
So he's there on the sofa, and then Gemma and Chesney come round, and timing couldn't be more perfect. They're like,
why do they always do this? On Coronation Street, it's like traditional. Like the week before the wedding is when you work out who you want to be the best man and who you want to give. Well,
usually for a Corrie wedding, it's like, I'm just going to ask the person who's been sleeping with my wife to be my best man behind my back, or something, or the person that murdered me, ma'am. Do you want to be the flower girl? And so here is saying, unbeknownst to them, he can't really walk at the moment. Would you like to walk me down the aisle and give me away? And he's like, it's tragic because he's like, his immediate reaction was to be over the moon, and he's so chuffed to be given this position of responsibility. And
it's a acknowledgement of his importance in her life.
And he's like, brilliant, I can do this, because he is still some ways in denial about his condition, isn't he? Especially with this kind of wonder drug going around his head, and he's thinking, no, I think I can get through this, and I can do this next week.
I can hold it at bay for a week for the wedding, shortly.
Yeah. So and then she's saying to him, can you go along to the Rovers to help put up the decorations for tonight? And he's like thinking to himself, I don't know if I can even get off the sofa at the moment.
Well, she wants to have her hen do.
Yeah, the hand do. So Paul's with Dee Dee later, and he's like massively panicking about everything. He's got a bit of a bad week, hasn't he? He's got his bad leg. He's got his court appearance on Friday. Pretty much everything's going wrong. So he hobbles into the Rovers later.
Bank holiday on Monday.
Yeah, happy cloud. I've spoken to about 3 people just today who didn't know it was bank holiday on Monday, and I didn't know it was bank holiday on Monday.
Hang on. You're teachers and you have next week off anyway.
It is true. It's half term.
There's literally no reason for you to know that it's bank holiday on Monday.
I think usually I know. But anyway, yeah. So why is Gemma and Chesney getting married on a bank holiday?
It's not cheaper, is it?
Is that a usual day to get married? Anyway, so and he hobbles into the Rovers, and he's trying to act like normal, and they've not started with the decorations yet. Jenny and Glenda are there, and they start hanging things up, and Paul realises that there's no way he's going to be able to help with this, so he limps back out again. It's like, I've forgotten something, I've left it at home. And Jenny's like, what's going on with him then? We have another Toya scene after that with Billy. Billy accosts her in a booth in the Rovers and says, you had adoption, didn't you? You were foster parents, or were they foster parents? I don't remember. Tell me about that. How do I adopt a child?
It was odd.
Without my partner dying at the end of it.
She's like, well...
Can't really help you with that one, mate.
She's like, well, the main thing really is to make sure that you don't have a dark secret that you're keeping from each other. Uh-oh. Because that was sort of what kind of put me and Imran into the don't
Toya's
adopt
just glad to be included. And she's like, yes, I can tell you all you need to know about fostering and adoption.
Why would you ask?
Off screen.
Why would you ask Toya? Why would you ask her? Why? Yeah. She's the one who didn't actually end up adopting anybody.
Yeah.
She's like, Billy's like, so, what did you do wrong?
Yeah,
like,
tell me everything you did, Toya, and then I won't do that thing.
She's like,
number one, don't drive your boyfriend into a wall.
Come here. I killed him. That was the big issue.
I think everybody's forgotten. Shh.
Don't bring it up. I think I got away with it.
I'm married to a... No, so I'm going out with a coffer. I think it's best if we keep it on the down low. The internet hasn't forgotten Toya. Whenever I see any mention of Toya on forums or Reddit or whatever at the moment, it's always people going, why has everybody forgotten that she's confessed to killing Imran on purpose?
Oh, goodness me.
Coronation Street's forgotten. Everybody's forgotten. Oh my gosh, what a
Well, anyway, Billy's forgotten.
Yeah, he has. And anyway, so they're chatting away about that. And then Jenny pops over and says, "Oh, Paul was having a bit of a limp earlier. Is he all right?" And Billy's like, "Oh, that's interesting. I never saw him with that before." So we then cut to Paul.
How come everyone else knows apart from Billy, and he lives with a guy?
He's got his head in the clouds, isn't he? He's there talking to God.
Yeah. All right, God. Yeah. Billy, go back down. You've got stuff to do.
It's not your time yet, Billy.
But hang on. What are you doing up here? Can I come up? No.
Can I give out any soup at the pearly gates? I'm great at giving out soup.
I've changed my number too, Billy. It's not that number anymore. Don't text me anymore.
What was the thing? That was a thing a few years ago. It wasn't about Billy texting God. Anyway.
Are you there, God? It's me, Billy.
I'll tell you what, Billy's going to have... Is he going to have another crisis of faith over this? Or, I don't know. Anyway, so Paul's at the hospital later. Yet again, he's there with Dee Dee. And they're waiting to see his proper nurse about this miracle drug. Billy rings him, he ignores it. And Dee Dee's like, "Oh, I don't know whether this is the right thing to do. You really should be telling Billy about this." And Paul says, "I have probably mentioned this once or twice before over the course of this storyline, but I just want to get this and the wedding out of the way first, and then I'm going to tell everybody that's okay." Right, sorted, Dee Dee.
I think I'm going to tell them at the reception.
I'm going to find the most dramatic, tragic time to tell people. And I'm just going to blast the doors off the thing. So, anyway, he gets called in to see the nurse. And the other nurse. And he's like, "So, tell me about this miracle treatment." And he's told exactly the same thing again. You're not really very likely to test positive for being able to make that work for you. I do believe my colleague said that to you the other day. I don't know why you needed to come for me for this. And then Paul's like, "Okay, well, you know, I'm walking my sister down the aisle next week. Can I have a steroid injection or something?" And she's like, "Nope, that doesn't work for what you've got, I'm afraid." And he's like, "Oh, no, please, anything we can do?" "No, sorry, you're just going to have to cross your fingers that you're going to be okay." So, bad news there.
It wasn't quite as flippant as that, but yeah, that's the main...
Every way we describe anything on this podcast is flippant. You just have to... Whatever. If you haven't watched it, this is the tip for listening to Conversation Street first. Just tone everything down and it's a lot more serious when it's on the show.
Yeah.
So, they're back on the street later. No, he's not. He's in the waiting room. Sorry, I skipped ahead. And he's convinced he's going to be okay. He's going to get this medicine. He's like, "I'm Paul. I always bounce back. Everything always goes right for me. And I'm not going to let this happen to me. And I'm just going to go to the stag and hen do and everything's okay." And Dee Dee's like, "Oh, yeah, you're not, are you?" So they go back to the street. Toya comes out of the Rovers and she's all smiley. She's like, I just had a scene with Billy and we talked for hours about adoption and fostering, and it's going to be cut for the final edit, isn't it? Typical.
Is this going to be shown in Canada or not? Because if not, I'm rioting.
Paul's like, "Hang on a minute, you've been talking. Why were you talking about?" Anyway, they go off into the Rovers. He's annoyed that Billy's still got this thing about fostering. So he finds Paul. Billy finds Paul in the flat later, and he puts his limp down to twisting his ankle in the street. And Billy says, "Look,
it's those cobbles and the high heels. It's always a problem."
Yeah. Billy says, "Right, I know you don't want to talk about adopting and fostering, but it takes a long time to get the ball rolling, according to old Toya. So maybe, you're not interested now, but let's start, putting our names down on any lists." And Paul's like, "No, I've told you before, Billy, this is not the time to start talking about that. Just
hang on.
Leave it."
Billy's like, "Paul, listen, I know that you didn't want to adopt or foster anything. I've been speaking to Toya, and she was like, one of us has to die before that can happen." I just ignored her. Anyway, do you want to...
Oh dear, it's tragic. So anyway, Billy goes to get some shirts from the bedroom, and Paul takes the opportunity to hobble out of the flat because he just doesn't want to be getting into this conversation right now. He turns up at the party later. So party central at the Rovers, midway through the afternoon, perfect time for a stag and hen do. He said, "Oh, I just had to, to get some ice on my ankle, Jenny. That's why I sloped off earlier." And then Gemma turns up. Well, she's got this bag of mystery items that she wants to strew over the tables in the Rovers, and we don't get to see this. We have to kind of use it to our own imagination. But Jenny's like, I'm gonna get shut down if you put those out there."
And she was like,
"No,
what?
Thank you very much."
She said something about Blackpool. I thought that was so good and also well acted by both.
It was very well done.
There. And then she says, oh, she's never going to let us play pin the tail on the donkey now, which makes me wonder what kind of tail the donkey is missing.
Well, exactly. So anyway, later on, there's a Mr. and Mrs. kind of game later, which seems to boil down to where have we shagged? And Gemma and Chesney are trying to reel off as many places as they can think of, like surely, the kebab shop at the market.
Surely nowhere since the quads have been born, as far as they complain.
Anyway, so then we have another over-edited scene of Paul sitting in the chair by the door, and everything's going a bit slow motion for him, and the sound's a bit wibbly-wobbly. And he's just looking really sad, and it wasn't necessary. And Gemma notices this because she's got their special twin psychic powers thing. And they have this little sign language exchange. I was thinking recently that Gemma's not been doing her sign language much recently. They went through a phase where almost every time the character spoke, she was signing at the same time. And I wonder whether they purposefully taken that out. Did people find it annoying, or was it just unnecessary?
I'm going to say a lot of people thought it was pandery and kind of rubbing your nose in it, which I don't agree with, because it felt to me very realistic. If you were Gemma and you were trying to learn sign language, I think you would use the signs when you communicated with other people to just keep your practice up.
Well, maybe now time has passed and she's a bit more... Is fluent the right word? I don't know. Maybe she doesn't need to do all of that. Anyway, I don't know.
It's the perfect time. When I was learning sign language, which I've all forgotten now, I used to talk to my friend across the English class using sign language. And we got...
you did that.
Yeah, we got told off.
Yeah.
Got banned. It got banned just like it did when it was at...
Joseph's school, yeah. Then we have Izzy come in, and I said on the podcast recently, didn't I? I said, I hope that Izzy and Paul have a nice scene together where they talk about life in a wheelchair and everything. And obviously Izzy at this point has got no idea why Paul's asking her about this, but he's saying, "Oh, how do you able to stay such a positive, chipper kind of character when you're in a wheelchair? And is it hard being you?" And she's says, "You know what? Anyone can say that about themselves. The reason why I'm happy all the time is because I'm absolutely bloody brilliant." And I think I quite liked that. I don't know whether it's true to say that Izzy is happy all the time. I think she generally is.
The one that was crapping all over Craig's secondment party last week and almost didn't get invited because she was being such a sourpuss.
I think that the thing is, when she's put next to Beth,
anyone would be.
Izzy is, yeah. But I liked that. I just love Shirley Houston's positivity that she brings, and I don't care. Yeah, I'm in a wheelchair. It's not stopping me from being, my full self.
Right. Just to say, in Izzy's situation, a wheelchair. I think when you're able-bodied and you look at somebody who's in a wheelchair, you think, "Oh, that must be so restrictive. I wouldn't like that because it seems very difficult." But actually, it enables her to do so many more things than she would be able to do.
Yeah.
But
it's going to be different for Paul, isn't it?
It will be different for Paul.
For Paul, it's like, this is my, my prison. My body is my prison, and.
But that you can say the same thing for anybody who's in a wheelchair. But we've been sort of clamouring for this discussion between Paul and Izzy.
I really, really hope that they do more than just this one scene.
If you listen to our Maud Grimes character profile, you'll hear another situation which Coronation Street handled very well, which was when Maud, who was always in a wheelchair, had this sort of wake-up call for Jim McDonald, who had been having to use a wheelchair after he had fallen off scaffolding and he couldn't walk anymore. And she kind of gave him a bit of a talking to, didn't she? And kind of made him stop wallowing in self-pity and realise that he had more to live for than he realised. I don't know if that situation is going to make any sense for Paul and Izzy, but I really would like...
Because with Paul, once he's in a wheelchair, things are just going to keep on getting worse.
The thing is about it is it's all very nice to say, "Oh yeah, it's fine, I'm happy as I am." But sometimes, especially if you're Paul, you want someone to just go, "Yeah, it's crap, isn't it? I'm so sorry. It isn't great." And just leave it at that. You don't need to say "but" or, at least this, you can just say to somebody, this is a really crap situation. I'm sorry.
I wonder whether we'll see him interact with other people who've got his condition. You know, people who he can really see eye to eye with, and who are both going on this terrible journey together.
Well, that's kind of what the wife.
The wife a few weeks ago came on.
I don't think they would bother doing that and also have somebody else.
That particular wife was, you know, she didn't necessarily help. She just was saying, she was there to say, isn't it expensive?
No, she was saying you don't even understand what's happening. You're focused on the goal. You're not the goal, but you're focused on the finish line. You're thinking about what will happen at the end. I'm telling you, there's a lot more to worry about between then and now than what's going to happen at the end of this situation.
I just like the idea of Paul having someone to connect with, someone else who is also going on a similarly hopeless journey, and that they can maybe bond with or something.
I can't see that being heartwarming.
I don't know what any of this is going to be heartwarming. That's kind of the problem with it, maybe. But anyway, Gemma and Chesney are there.
But hang on, I just want to say, it's not everyone. This is the thing. This is the sort of thing, I guess, you know, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but people, you know, in situations like Izzy finds herself in, it always feels as though the person is kind of morally bound to make everyone else feel better on their behalf.
Yeah.
Don't worry, don't mind me. I'm perfectly happy. I'm brilliant. I don't mind at all. And because people don't like it when you point out the inconvenient truth about how disabled people are treated and how difficult it can be. And, you know?
Hashtag taking the diss.
Well, I'm just saying that it does feel a bit like there's this kind of patronising expectation upon disabled people to make everyone else feel better about not feeling guilty about the fact that people are suffering.
Yeah, no,
do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
and I don't like this idea that Izzy has to sort of say, don't worry about me, everything's fine.
That's why, although I liked that scene, I still hope that there is more to come between them.
Because Paul is going to be there like this as well. He's already done this a little bit, kind of trying to crack jokes with Dee Dee and stuff. But I think the realest interactions he ever has is with Damon, because he doesn't care what Damon thinks of him. He hasn't got any social expectations, or he doesn't owe him anything. So he can be real with him and be like, this is crap, I've got no time left, I can't cope with this.
Yeah, and Damon comes into it again in today's episode, doesn't he? And he's like saying, you just need to, you know, you need to get up and do something.
So when you're saying, oh, I wish he had somebody else he could talk to, I think Damon's that for him. He's not experiencing what Paul's going through, but he's literally, because even Dee Dee, Paul's he needs something from her, or he's trying to soften the blow a little bit, or he's trying to stop her from getting him to tell anybody. Billy. Yeah. But Damon and Paul are like the most raw and real they've ever been with anybody between each other. True. And I think that is a really fascinating relationship that Coronation Street's developed, and I think it also reflects really well on both their characters and the development of their characters. Yeah,
I'm still not a big Damon fan, but I think if he's being used this way, like we saw tonight,
it's a good use of the character.
Him. Yeah. So anyway, Billy comes and sits down next to Paul and's like, is there something wrong with you? Is there anything up that you're not telling me? He's like really worried that he thinks Paul's going to be dumping him. He says, am I one of the things that's worried you? And Paul's like, no, I'm fine. It's just, you know, the wedding. I want to get back to work. My head's just battered at the moment. And Chesney's also there speaking with Gemma, and Gemma's like, I'm really, really worried about Paul. He's not right. I know what we can do to put him on this, get him on the up. Stick a bit of PJ and Duncan on the jukebox.
Oh.
What?
Well, it was nice at the first time, and now it's just a sad symbol of all the things he's lost.
Yeah, so this was the track that they danced to on their birthday a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Let's get ready to humble.
And also,
and
also Ant and Dec. Oh.
and Gemma's like saying, "Come on, Paul, let's get up and dance. We know the moves." And he's like, "No, we can't." And he's getting more and more frustrated, isn't he? Because he probably, you know, he'd love nothing better than to get up and rumble with his sister, but he knows he can't do it, and he doesn't want anybody to know that he can't do it. So it ends up in just him snapping at her and saying, "Look, I just don't want to. I'm not in the mood." And that was really tragic, because I do really enjoy the relationship between Paul and Gemma, their little twin thing that they got going on, and to see him kind of biting her head off at a stag do was kind of sad.
It was really sad because it was supposed to be a happy day for her.
Yeah, and she just ends up kind of getting miffed off in the snug area.
She thought she could rely on Paul, and she put this song on because, like you said, they danced to this together on their birthday. And the other thing that Gemma's probably thinking is that they're twins and they always do everything together.
Yeah.
And this is the first time she's really done anything significant apart from having babies, which, I don't know, is that significant? Not sure. But it's the first time she's ever done anything lifey without Paul. And she wants him to be part of the celebration. Well, especially
because of the financial contribution that he's made to the wedding as well. She wants to thank him, but he's just having a rubbish time, it looks like.
Think about the symbolism here involved also in the fact that Gemma's launching a life without Paul, and this is what will happen when Paul dies. And he's just thinking this. She's on a journey now. I can't go with her, and I won't be able to go with her when I'm dead, and that will be much sooner than we both ever thought would happen. It's just horrible.
Yeah, and the episode ends on a massive downer as well, because he kind of hobbles out the Rovers. She's there following and saying, "Look, what's wrong with you? I don't believe that you got a bad ankle. There's something else." And he has to then massively lie and just say, "I'm just fed up with the wedding. That's all you bang on about. I can't wait for this to be over. It's just such a hassle. Tell you what, you can find someone else to walk you at the flaming aisle because I'm not doing it." And he just ends the episode stalking off. And tragic stuff. And it just keeps on rolling on Friday because today's the day of his court appearance at the magistrate's court for stealing that car a month or two back, whenever it was. And so he's on the grump over breakfast. He blames the lack of strawberry Pop-Tarts. Do you see it? Yeah.
This episode's sponsored by Strawberry Pop-Tarts.
I was a late convert to Strawberry Pop-Tarts because I used to be chocolate Pop-Tarts all the way when I was a kid, but just, not that we have Pop-Tarts very often, but I did partake in a strawberry one in the last few years, and I agree, quite nice. Although I think it was a little bit of a cliche thing to have, Paul, the unicorn wearing gay man of the street, preferring strawberry Pop-Tarts over chocolate Pop-Tarts, which are clearly the much more masculine flavour.
Everyone knows chocolate is a man's flavour.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
Strawberry is for women only.
Women and gay characters,
oh my God, Michael.
Yeah. Anyway, he's saying to Billy, "Fed up with this wedding, I'm not going to the wedding anymore." And Billy, they keep... At least 3 or 4 times in the script today, Paul saying, "I'm swerving it. I'm swerving the wedding. I'm swerving my court appearance." Get a thesaurus, whoever wrote tonight's episode. And Billy says, "Look, if you do that, you're going to regret it. You've got to go to this wedding."
I don't think when I look at Paul, expansive vocabulary.
Okay, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it was in character. Yeah. So he's with Dee Dee again later. She's trying to cheer him up as best she can. And he tells her about...
dance. She goes... she does the office dance. She's like, "Hey, Faye's gone to Slough." Not really, but it would be good if she did.
He says, "I'm not going to the wedding." And she's like, "You kind of got to." And he's like, "Well, you know what? This time next week, I might even be behind bars." So Dee Dee bumps into Gemma and Bernie in the street later, and they've both got cobs on over how Paul abandoned them at the stag do last night.
It wasn't a stag do.
Stag/hen do. It wasn't kind of anything. It was really low key, wasn't it?
It was okay. It was just a party. Why does everyone make it such a big deal about...
I preferred Daisy's a couple of weeks ago, that's all I'm saying.
What did she do?
Stuff. I don't know, it just seemed a lot more fun. Well, she had those nasty mean girls turn up at hers, didn't they? Yeah. But I don't remember.
Just have a party.
It felt like it was a bigger thing. I felt like it was bigger for Daisy, but anyway, I complain about everything. So Bernie's like, I'm gonna have a talk to my Apollo. Goes buzzing around in the flat, but Paul's there saying, "I can't speak to anyone. Don't want to speak to me mum."
She sees over.
Yeah, she sees
Dee Dee's
that Paul
shoulder.
is there
Paul's
through the
glaring out the window like a Hitchcock heroine.
So she tries to get him, but he just turns the volume up because he's not ready for this.
What do you think he's watching?
Not Philip Schofield.
Oh.
He's probably watching My Little Pony or something, isn't he?
No, Michael.
Oh, this is what Coronation Street wants us to think that Paul's into.
I think he's watching that new prehistoric nature documentary on Apple.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the lawyer's office later, Billy comes round to see Dee Dee and says, "What's going on with Paul? He's been acting really weird lately, sorry." And she says, No, it's fine. It's, he just... It's fine. He's okay." And he's like, "No, you know something, don't you? Is Paul finishing with me? He's like mega insecure this week, isn't he?" And Dee Dee says, "No, that's not the case." Well, it kind of is in a way. And Billy says, "Look, you would tell me, wouldn't you, if there's something that you know that I don't?" Cut to the magistrate's court later, and Paul has decided to add a little bit of pre-break drama by not turning up because he's swerving it, to go to Victoria Gardens. And who should come along there to give him a bit of a pep talk but Damon Hay, who says...
Are you swerving it?
He said, "Are you swerving it?" "Yeah, I'm swerving it."
Yeah,
he said, "You can't swerve it. You need to...
I will, I'm going to swerve it."
You need to just get to that court, tell him you'll be fine, and then you need to go and live life to your fullest while you still can.
Well, this was interesting, because he was basically saying to him, "You're not dead yet. If I was you, I'd do this, that and the other thing."
But you can't do that if you're going to get yourself in trouble by not turning up when you got your court case.
You should buy a plastic jacket.
So he goes to the magistrate's court. There was very little drama in him delaying his appearance there. But anyway, fortunately...
Well, because the magistrate was late as well.
Yeah, they were, but they didn't even need that necessarily. It was a very minor... Oh, is he going to go to the court or not? It felt like a bit of a time-filling thing, but I don't know. What was a bit confusing... Well, I was confused at the time, and I thought I'd missed something, which does happen, is that Billy is also there. When Dee Dee and Paul go into the courtroom, we see Billy kind of looking worriedly lurking about at the map or whatever to see where he should be going. So they go and sit into the courtroom. Billy comes in as well, and turns
out he just likes...
He's like, "Man, what have you done?"
He's like Blanche. He just likes to go watch court cases.
Yeah. So Paul worries that because Billy's got to find out about his medical condition now, because this has been submitted into the court records, and so they're definitely going to be bringing it up. And they do after about 5 seconds of it starting. The magistrate's like, "Right, not beating him out of the bush." It's really because of the shortest court appearance ever on Coronation. She's like, "Don't beat about the bush. You got M&D. That sucks. You're on suspended sentence. Don't be naughty in the next year."
The magistrate was like,
"Dismissed.
How could I punish you more than God has already?" And then Billy's like, "Oh, this is awkward."
Well, we see Billy's reaction to the news. Oh, so sad.
What? No, I thought this was all well acted.
He gets a bit teary, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, what's he supposed to do? Like, go, whoa, hold on a minute. What do you mean, MND?
Yeah. It was. And
then the court DJ does record scratch.
Do they have them? Do they?
Yeah, they do. They got.
They should have done that when Justin pled not guilty a few weeks ago.
When he said his birthday, they went wiki rewind. What did you say?
1988. 1988 to 1984 to 1984.
No, that was terrible.
So anyway, Billy's found this out. Isn't that shocking?
Yes, it is.
Bernie, meanwhile, is at number 5 trying to get out of Gemma what's going on with you and Paul, and Gemma's like, I don't know what's wrong with him.
Dick.
And Bernie says, "I'm going to find out. I'm going to go and get him into that wedding. Don't you worry."
Him up.
So anyway, back to the court, we find out that the reason that Billy knew to turn up there was because he discovered a letter at home summoning Paul to court on that day.
He's not very good at covering his tracks, is he, Paul?
I just like...
Also,
is that really the best they could have come up with for the reason that Billy had to be there?
When you get something wrong with you, you end up with so much post from the hospital. I'm surprised that the hospital letters didn't come to his notice before the whole court summons did.
Anyway, very conveniently, he's there. He's found out everything, and Paul's like, he's just on the defensive at this point. He wasn't expecting to have this conversation right now, and he's like, "Well, yeah, me and you, we haven't got a future now, have we?" So,
hang on, did you say that the trial's like, you're not going to prison, but
suspended sentence.
Yeah.
And he tries to push past Billy as a fall over, and Billy catches him, and is like, "Oh, isn't it tragic together?" So they go back to the flat, and Paul pretty much tells him anything. Is there anything that Paul hasn't told him at the moment? Are we missing anything important here? I can't remember. So he says, "Yeah, I stole the cars. I've got my MND. I've got this much long to live." And he talked about how stealing these cars, Rufus's car and everything, made him feel good, and it's like, this is the only thing in my life that I can be in control of at the moment. I can, I'm going to be able to do jack all before long. So
I can't work, I can't do anything.
And so there's that. And then on the other hand, I'm worrying about needing all my equipment. This is why I didn't tell you. I didn't want to burden you with this, the funeral costs and everything. And Billy's there sobbing away. And then Paul brings up this miracle cure and says, even by this point, I think it's kind of sunk in for Paul that's not going to work. Twist, it does. We don't know what's going to happen for the future of this storyline. Maybe in the surprise Britain's Got Talent Week twist, he gets tested positive for this, and he's all hopping and jumping down the aisle in time for the wedding. I don't know. So anyway, Billy is there, and then Bernie starts buzzing up at the flat again, and
she lets herself in.
No, Billy lets.
She comes in.
Yeah, and she
has to go at him.
Yeah. That she doesn't notice that they've both been just crying their hearts out because she's too busy telling them off for being an arse for Gemma.
She's probably like these drama queens. Probably summer's falling over again. I don't care.
They've probably just been watching another rom-com again or something. And anyway, the reason that she's gone is to deliver the message that I will never forgive you if you don't turn up to this wedding. And Billy's like, she goes, and Billy says, why aren't you going to this? And he says, I need to stay out of Gemma's way. She's already suspicious that there's something going on here with me. I want her to have a happy day. If she's there asking questions, there's a potential that she might find out. Don't want that. She needs to have the best day possible, and she can't do that with me there. And then he has another cry at the end of the episode and says he's really scared.
Well, this is tragic because I wonder if we're going to get Billy's perspective on this, because we have, or do we know, I can't remember if we suspected or we knew that one of his parishioners has this and is
I can't remember actually.
Terminal. Well, it's always terminal, and he's trying to sort out his end of life care, and so if this person has the same condition that Paul has, he's watched this happen in front of his eyes, and now he's got to see his boyfriend go through it as well.
Yeah.
I really wonder whether this is going to end up leading to Coronation Street's first gay wedding.
I know. I was thinking that same thing tonight. Like,
I'm in two minds about it because it's long overdue. We've said this for a long time. We know that Billy has always had this kind of idea that he's not confronting the problematic aspects of his faith, in that the Church of England, I don't think, recognises gay. I don't know what the rules are anymore, but I don't think they would allow it. But
maybe he's going to hijack Gemma's wedding and says, Paul, while we're here, double wedding for the twins makes sense.
On the one hand, I would like this. I just imagine it would be very sad. But on the other hand, this really just feeds into the kill your gays trope that people were complaining about. And are we going to end up with a situation where there was almost one gay wedding, and then the person died right on the day, which was Rana. And then there was another gay wedding, and then the person one of the people in that wedding dies, months after.
If it doesn't happen, I'm sure that in Corrie Writer's room they will have at least considered the idea.
I'm sure.
But
there
really,
were people...
the only reason that the only benefit of it is to make it even more tragic when he dies.
It will make it more tragic, and it will get Coronation Street in the papers.
Why?
For good or ill, because I think that they've passed the stage at which they're going to get a pat on the head for this, if they ever expected to. Yeah. This is long overdue.
I just think that their first gay wedding needs to be a full-on
triumphant and
happy,
joyous.
Yeah, exactly, and not tinged with tragedy, which this one would be.
Because already there are loads of people who, I don't mind gay people, but they look down on gay relationships, and they think they're tragic because you can't have children, etc. All these myths and stupid stereotypes and hang-ups that people have about gay marriage, it kind of would feed into that, wouldn't it? To have this doomed
and
doomed marriage.
And with this particular story going on, let's say they don't get married. I mean, Billy's not going to be getting married to anyone else anytime soon, so that just pushes yet again the first gay marriage on Coronation Street back.
Can you imagine?
Unless there's, other characters.
Well, if they bring in two characters who are gay, who are in a sort of very long-term relationship, can you imagine if Coronation Street's first gay wedding was just literally, we go to Billy at the beginning of an episode, he's just officiating one, and then it's just a throwaway scene at the beginning with two characters not even named.
I mean, do you think, we've done it now, you're happy, everybody?
Right, shut up about it now.
I'm kind of still wondering, what's going to happen with Billy in the romance stakes after Paul's eventual demise, and is he gonna bond with Todd over this? I'm kind of interested to see, because I think that Billy and Todd have got a lot more chemistry than Billy and Paul.
Even Todd,
even new Todd, who is again severely underused.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to see some scenes between those two, or even Billy and Sean or something.
Well, hang on, you've just brought up Todd, and when Paul and Billy were talking, and he was saying about his funeral, we're thinking he's gonna get a discount probably because of Todd. But I want to see the scene, and I don't want them to not do this scene, where Paul and Billy and Todd are talking about Paul's funeral, because that is going to be an incredibly affecting scene that could be incredible performance-wise from those three actors. I think how we've kind of made fun of the three gay dads thing, but what a weird way for this relationship of these three men who are linked by this girl to end with the three of them planning one of the funerals of these men, because one of them's an undertaker and the other one's got a terminal illness.
Yeah. So that reminds me, actually, we've not seen Summer at all this week, have we? And it should be an added complication.
React?
I mean, the big question
in how
is
she's going to react. To be honest,
she's probably, she's going to
cry.
She's probably going to faint.
I know.
Let's just be real about this. When's it going to come out? Do you think we're going to get through this wedding without the news?
Well, okay.
Is it going to be a reception revelation, or
when Paul was talking about the wedding and saying that he didn't want to go and he didn't want to upset her and he didn't want it to come out and he didn't want it to be the only thing that she remembered about the wedding, I was thinking, if you don't go and she looks back on those pictures and you're not in it and she knows you didn't go because you were dying, that's going to be so much worse than if you went and told her.
I'm sure he'll go. I mean, I
know I'm positive he's going to go.
I've seen some pictures of Gemma in the wedding dress, and I've seen what Chesney's going to wear. I've seen what the quads are going to wear, but I haven't seen any other guests there. But no. I don't know for certain whether he's going to go, but he is going to go, isn't he? Surely he's going to be. Somebody's going to convince him, and he's going to turn up. I think he's probably going to be able to walk her down the aisle, maybe a little trip. Possibly
she's going to be holding him up,
but I don't need it. I really don't need it to come out of the wedding. I want it to be.
I think it will do. I think
because
it's
this is Gemma's wedding.
Yeah, it's going to come out before, and she's going to be so brave and lovely.
You reckon before? Do you?
Yeah, I do. I think that. But has Bernie got it out of them?
No.
Bernie's going to get it out of them.
Then
she's going to tell Gemma.
If anyone's wedding is going to be just fun,
it's not going to be
fun. It should be Gemma's.
But it can't be.
It can't.
Michael,
yeah, it's going to be.
No matter what, it can't be fun and carefree because we know. Even if Gemma doesn't know, we're going to see Paul's expression as he tries to walk down the aisle.
Yeah, it's going to be bittersweet. But I'd rather it would be bittersweet than just ruined because it comes out right in the middle of it or something.
It's not fair on Gemma to not give her any time to process this, but I do feel as though that's what is going to happen, and I think there's going to be a little bit of unrealistic reaction from Gemma where she just says,
I really, really
doesn't matter because I'm only getting married once anyway, so you're going to be here for it. She's going to say something brave and wonderful, and we're all going to cry.
I really, really hope that Dolly does an amazing job.
She will do.
I think she probably will. I think she's going to be good.
I've not really had any doubts about her. All the performances These actors are all...
And Bernie, Jane Hazelgrove is superb.
Absolutely
But
fantastic.
I don't think we've seen much of that kind of side of her, have we? She's been more of a comedy character. Yeah, there's been a bit of stuff with Kel and everything where she had to be a bit more dramatic, but I don't think there's been a whole lot where she's had to be completely raw and emotional and the kind of things that are going to be required for this.
Well, she's going to think...
I think she's going to be amazing. I think she might surprise people.
Oh, she won't surprise me because I'm expecting great things because I've seen her doing it.
Yeah.
But, she's a mother who's going to have to watch her grown son die, and you don't expect that to happen when you're a parent, to watch your child. And she's also going to think, is it something I've done wrong? Is there anything I could have done differently, or
less raving while I was pregnant?
Is it my genetics, or
yeah, I think she will, yeah. So I don't, do you think it's just going to come out, is he just going to fall over? There's going to be a big
kerfuffle. They're all going to be getting ready, and Gemma's going to be trying to get everything together, and then she's going to stumble, and she's going to be all right, and then Bernie's going to be like, Paul, can I talk to you in the kitchen? And then she's going to get out of him, and then she's going to tell Gemma, and then there's going to be a scene when everybody's left, and it's Gemma and Paul, and they have to go to the wedding together, and they have a heart-to-heart.
But
and she's going to say something tragic, like, we came in together and I thought we were going to leave together. Sorry. And then you've ruined that. But, and it's going to be sad because if you're a twin, you have that extra bond and you did come into the world together and you don't know when you're going to leave, but you never expected it to be that soon.
No. I just don't think that Paul, he's so determined not for her to find out. It feels like at the moment nothing could convince him to reveal this before the wedding.
It's not going to be down to him.
I don't want it to be Billy.
Billy's not going to do it, but if he does, I'll give him a bloody shake.
I can totally imagine him doing it. I can imagine him saying, well, actually, everybody, and kind of ruin it because he does like things to be about himself sometimes. But I don't want it to be.
Right, let's move on.
I hope that the Daisy Justin Ryan side of this storyline adds some excitement, because if this is the main story of the week, that's just going to be such a downer, isn't it?
Well, it makes some good reels for the staples, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What we want to happen, of course, is for Henry to come riding in on his white stallion and then just whisk Gemma away.
You're like, hello everybody, I've come to win you back, Gemma, and also, I don't know if this is relevant to anybody here, but I've cured MND just in my spare time. Here's the piece of paper with the cure on it. I'm just going to drop that on the floor.
This would just be the perfect time for Henry to come back. But I think that they would make it seems unlikely, and the thing is, like, everyone apart from the Coronation Street people want Henry and Gemma. Would rather Gemma was with Henry, I think, don't they, than Chesney. But Corrie's if Henry came back, he'd have to be foiled in his plans to woo Gemma away from Chesney, and then it'd just be like the last time when he got his collarbone broken.
Here's the thing, though. Gemma and Henry, we've always been pulling for them too, and I've never been convinced with Gemma and Chesney. I think I hate them together. But if it's kind of Paul's dying wish that his sister gets the wedding of her dreams to the man of her dreams, and then after he's died, Henry comes and breaks Gemma and Chesney up, is that just bad karma?
Everybody splits up in Coronation Street. I'm just thinking that, are Gemma and Chesney going to go the distance?
Doubt it. Hope not.
Okay.
And I'll say that when they asked me to do the speech at the reception.
I would like to just say lovely fashion choice from Gemma with her pink cowboy hat with the stag do. Enjoyed that. So on to more misery and heartfelt conversations and people keeping a stiff upper lip and everything as tragedy goes on. Faye's off.
I feel like I'm out of sympathetic commentary.
Well, we've got to have more to come in.
Right, if you have a great need of in-depth discussion about Faye's exit, I think the bonus episode is the place to go for this. Well, I feel completely drained now.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's your turn to say.
On Monday, Craig tries to make Faye a fancy breakfast, but she's not interested. So she goes to have a shower.
Strawberry Pop-Tarts and everything.
And she comes back. Craig's like, what's up? Have you got M&D? No, I thought we were cool. And she says, look, I don't like the idea of you blackmailing me over Ted. Because that's what happened last week. But he was kind of insinuating that he's keeping her secret. If you leave me,
I'm going to dob you in.
It's like, I've sacrificed so much for the secret that you and Emma killed Ted. And it's like, well, the guy's grandkid didn't care, so everyone else has moved on. But,
he'd get himself into trouble though, wouldn't he?
He's yeah. Anyway, so he's like, look, I didn't mean it. I just said something stupid because I was scared of losing you. I love you, and I would never do anything to hurt you.
He's just in desperation by Monday, isn't he? Because he can feel that she is slipping between those fingers.
Desperation Street. At the cafe, Craig says to Faye that they should buy their own flat and then get married and things. And Faye's
just like, anything, stay with me, don't leave me, please.
Craig's like, if I can't get you to marry me and buy a flat, would you at least commit to Nando's next week? And she's like, oh, in Slough? So she says, look, there's no rush. We don't need to do anything drastic. And Craig says, no, we need to make concrete plans for the future. Why don't we get a hamster? I heard there's a chinchilla cage going down the street. Beth hounds Craig and says, why are you still with Faye after everything that's happened? I don't want you to get hurt. And he says, she's made a mistake, but I trust her now. And you need to stop being a hypocrite and you need to be happy for us. So this is what Beth's referring to, the fact that it all came out that Jackson and Faye had kissed at the party. Tim chats with Faye back at home and he's like, I can tell that you don't want to get a flat and you're not that into it. And she says, I'm just thinking about Miley and I think I'd miss her. And he says, it looked like you were going to end up with Jackson for a while there. But I'm glad you're sticking with Craig and I'll help you with this flat deposit if you want, but just don't move too far away.
I thought that was a lovely scene. She did get some nice moments with family members before she had her classic Corrie taxi exit.
So Miley and Jackson turn up and they want to go to their favourite place, which is the precinct, before they go to Slough. And Faye's like, I'm so busy. Gary comes round and she has a go at him for setting her up with Jackson the other day. And she's like, I don't know what to do. What can I do? And he says, go to Slough. Go to Slough. You obviously want to. And she says, but I love Craig. And Gary says, you clearly love Jackson. And why don't you go for it, be with your daughter. And Faye says, I can't because Craig knows something about me that if it came out, I would end up in prison. So she's like, hang on, wait for the camera to turn off and I'll tell you everything. So a bit later on, we realise, we come back to them and she's told him everything about the fact she ran over the biscuits and then the man and then he died. And Gary's like, why the hell didn't you tell anybody? This is silly. And she says, look, Craig helped me out. I owe him my freedom. And Gary says, don't keep yourself a prisoner for the rest of his life. I'm going to go and find him and sort him out. So Beth tries to catch Craig again and have a moan about Faye. And he says, no, I've got things under control. I'm staying with Faye. That's final. Then when he leaves, Gary marches up and is like, right, get up them stairs. So they go into the flat and Faye's already up there and Gary confronts him and says, I know about the blackmail. And Craig's like, oh no, gets really nervous. And
Craig was just like a massive chicken during this scene, wasn't he?
It's ridiculous. Like, he's
so
supposed to
cowardly.
Be at CID, is he?
Well, maybe this is why they want him for CID, because
he's good at doing scared cop.
The uniform officers on the street actually have to come, face to face on the streets.
Yeah.
With the criminals, and Craig's too much of a Jessie for that.
Do you reckon? So Beth calls on the intercom. It's all getting very dramatic.
You'd rather just be like, just give him a magnifying glass and a funny hat, and just tell him to go and look at things.
Tell him to go down the precinct and look for a clue. Beth comes in and says, I can tell something's up, what's going on? So they all keep quiet, but Beth wants answers. And then Faye manhandles Gary out before he incriminates everybody. So Beth and Craig are left alone in the flat, and Craig admits to Beth that he doesn't think Faye wants him anymore. But he's not going to tell anybody about this Ted thing, he just wants to let her go. So Faye and Gary go to the pub. And Faye's like, I just don't want to be blackmailed anymore, but I do still love Craig. And who's to say that it would even work out if I went to Slough with Jackson? It just feels like a bit of a mess. And Tim joins them, and it's obvious that he wants her to stay in Weatherfield. Because...
Yeah, so by the time Monday's episode ends, there's, conflicting views from the two family members, isn't there? And Tim's been just a little bit selfish, really, isn't he? Yes, he can see that, she's not really in love with Jackson, and she's just doing it for Faye, but equally, he doesn't want to lose her. But with Gary, he's saying, no, you go for it, spread your wings. And I think that's probably... Is that the best advice? I don't know. I still can't really decide, because I'm stuck on the fact that she really doesn't seem to have any proper feelings for Jackson, and she's just banking on hoping that something develops, and that's not a really good foundation for moving away to Slough with anybody.
The best advice would be split up with Craig if you don't see a future with him, and then commute to Slough and see if you can develop a relationship with Jackson. That would actually make sense to move in with him, because at the moment it's just like she's moving to Slough to live with this man that she doesn't know.
Yeah, it's
just weird.
Are they sharing a bed the first night, or
is she happening?
Is she being the maid in
How
their new house? Or
would it be if you were Faye on the first night in Slough and
so?
So I see there's a double here. It's really, the more you think about it, it doesn't make sense, but we won't think about it because that's not our job, is it?
Yeah, it kind of is.
On Wednesday, Faye comes into the living room and she's got this horrible outfit on, which is, I'm glad that it was supposed to be a joke, but I have seen people wear worse.
Yeah, it had just weird sleeves, didn't it?
It was ruched, laced sleeves. Poofy sleeves, and it's just horrible. She's like, hey, what do you think? And Craig's like, I don't know.
He
it's
barely
not great.
even notices because
and
he's somewhat distracted.
She's upset because this is Miley's leaving day, but then Craig's like, go and change, you moron. What are you wearing that for? Hope you've left the labels on it. So they decide to have a family photo. Luckily, Faye has changed and she managed to crack a smile. And Gary's there and he can sense this tension between Faye and Craig. And they all gather for goodbye hugs and Faye is struggling to hold it together. So back at the flat later, Craig tells Faye, don't do this. You don't need to do this anymore. Don't pretend everything's okay. And she says, well, maybe it will be. If I just carry on pretending, maybe everything will be all right. And Craig says, or maybe it won't be.
So Gary says that. Oh, no, it was Craig, wasn't it? I'll just shut up.
Craig says, maybe it won't be. Maybe you'll never be happy with me. But right now, you have a choice. If you want to, you can go and be with Miley and Jackson, and you can be together. So they sit on the sofa together, and Faye says to Craig, I do love you. And he says, enough? Do you love me as much as you love him? And she says, I don't love Jackson. And so Craig tells her if she stays here, she's going to be settling for second best. And Faye says, look, we've had our ups and downs. It's been more good times than bad, but I don't know. I don't know if I think maybe I do need to go, but will you better forgive me? And he says, I just want to see you happy, and I think that you should go and be.
Yeah, well, he points out as well that it's part of the second best thing. We are always going to row as couples do, and what I don't want is for our rows to always end up with you.
I should have gone with Jackson.
Yeah,
I should have gone to Slough.
Yeah, so he's being very noble and setting her free.
It's stupid. So the Hodges
like a ladybird
return, and they get a big hug from Faye, and Sally and Tim are sad, but they're like, okay, you should leave. And Gary turns up and he's chuffed because they've all decided that she's going. So she gets in the car to go to Slough with Miley and Jackson. Everyone waits.
All her worldly possessions in a little bag.
And then they drive past Craig, and Faye's like, stop the car. And she gets out and she gives him a big hug. One last goodbye, tells him she loves him, thanks him for everything, and he's trying not to cry, and she walks back to the car and she drives away, never to be seen again. Yeah. So on Friday, Craig's maudlin in the cafe and Nina's trying to cheer him up, and Tim's missing Faye after speaking to her on the phone, and he feels a bit useless because he didn't really have anything to say, because he's saying, when you just come round each other's house, you don't have to have conversations, but on the phone there's a bit more drama involved and a bit more focus, isn't there? So it's like, look, nobody expects any great conversation from you, Tim. Craig comes to the factory to pick up some of Faye's work stuff, and he gets talking to Sally. He talks about missing Faye and texting her, and And Sally's trying to cheer him up and says, "Come round for some Mexican." And she like mispronounces everything that she's going to make.
Jalapenos.
And so Craig does turn up. He must be completely at a loose end. And Sally tries to engineer something fun between Tim and Craig because they're both miserable about Faye going. And then she finds them later on spray painting a rectangle on the summer house because he wants to make a bar, which I thought was funny because I was talking to you about doing that with our shed.
Yeah. This seemed a little unnecessary in today's episode. Isn't it sad that Faye's gone and we're all,
Well, I wonder if they
united in our grief.
I think what happened was they said, well, everyone's going to expect some kind of reaction from Craig. And then we're going to go into Britain's Got Talent Week and we won't have time for any of that. We're just going to focus on these main stories.
Yeah, so I'm not expecting this to be a focus next week. Better cram this
into Friday so that we sort of acknowledge Faye as left and we give that a bit of room. But there's no need to go into great depth about it. And if this is the only reaction that Craig and Tim have, I won't be surprised or disappointed, to be honest.
I don't know what the future has in store for Craig, but I'm not particularly bothered, and they can certainly put this one on ice for a good many months before we get to see them again. But I don't know, we'll see what happens. I really, I liked the exit more than you did. I was just happy that Faye left the show with a smile on her face. I would have preferred it to be a bit more like the Maureen Webster exit, where Bill was driving down the road in the taxi, and then Maureen's like, "Stop the car, I'm coming with you, hooray!" And it was all kind of romantic. I think that would have been quite nice for Faye to have made that decision and said, "Right, Jackson, I'm coming with you." But as it was, she still seemed like this was the happiest that she'd been for months. So it could have been worse. It wasn't just her saying, "Oh, I suppose I better go then. Am I making a mistake?" I like the character of Faye, and I wouldn't have wanted to see her go in a state. I'm not convinced that it is necessarily the best thing for her to do, but I thought it was an okay exit and very appropriate for Faye, who is not exactly one of the leading ladies of Coronation Street, should we say. But do you want to say kind of a little bit about the problem that you had with this?
I mean, I feel like I ranted about it too much. I don't really want to go on about it.
For people, just, quick summary for people who haven't listened to the bonus podcast this week.
What did I say? I mean, I think it was a kind of soulless exit in that I don't believe for 1 minute that anybody would ever say, "I love you too much, I'm going to let you free." That's illogical. It doesn't happen. Craig being the bigger person out of him and Jackson.
I don't know, Jackson's pretty tall.
I found it hollow. And
I thought
loads of my biggest thing with Faye was the menopause storyline, which just seemed to be a way to make her wish she had kids, and then Miley magically appears, and then everything she's ever wanted for 5 minutes is there, ready for her to put it in a bag so she can go to Slough with it.
I didn't mind. I thought the dialogue in those final scenes between Faye and Craig was really nicely written. Maybe it wasn't genuine, but
it felt like a rom-com from the 90s.
I didn't get that, but I thought it was okay, and it was a means to an end. I just think that maybe Craig's one of his biggest mistakes was that little blackmail, because I think if I was Faye, I'd be thinking, even if he's not actually going to dob me in now, he's clearly he's not forgotten about this, and he could hold this over me at any point in the future.
Well,
I'm not tying myself down to somebody like that.
To be clear, I thought the writing was great. I thought the performances are all great. I just thought the scenario was a bit fake. And I don't know what you can do about the fact that, I don't know if she wanted to leave or if they decided it was time for Faye to leave. Either way, the character had to leave. How do you engineer an exit? It felt kind of neat the way that they did it, but it also felt very fictional.
Yeah, and like I said on the bonus podcast this week, having Miley back for Faye's exit was probably quite a quick decision in the Corrie writers' room. I'm just kind of guessing here. like it's not exactly the most creative of exits for her, was it? But
Well,
I've kind of enjoyed seeing Miley. I don't mind her as a character. I've been enjoying her few scenes that she's had.
We don't need everything to be unexpected and twisty and turny.
No, it doesn't need to be.
It was somewhat believable, but I just didn't like this whole I'm a noble. You know how you always going on about how you don't like Paul and you think he's too noble.
Yes.
And he's fake.
Bloody do-gooder.
Exactly. That's how I felt about Craig in this story. He's like, I love you, so I will let you go. In real life, if you were Craig and you really genuinely did love Faye, you'd say, look, I know what you want, but I'm actually worried that this is not how you're going to... What you think is going to happen is not how this is going to turn out. You're going to move to a new town. You're going to not have your family. You're not going to have your friends. And you're not going to have anybody that you know. What job are you going to do? You're moving in with a guy you barely know. Is he really doing her a kindness to sort of let her go like a butterfly in a jar? Or is he just kind of like shoving her into a insect trap?
He's just a massive doormat though, isn't he, Craig? And thinking, everything always goes wrong for me.
I just felt a bit like I would have preferred a bit of a fight from Craig. And the fact that he couldn't be bothered to fight for her just proves that she was right to go.
Yeah. Oh well. Like you said, I don't think we're going to see her again. But...
I don't think we're going to see her again, and I genuinely don't think we're going to think about her again.
Okay, so let's.
Which is a shame because,
let's have a look at
I think she did as good a job as she could have done. I think she was. And I saw the video that they put on about her doing her quiz about Faye and, Ellie, and I thought she was endearing and lovely and charming, and I hope that she has a great future career.
Yeah, we wish her well on the podcast. Right, so the Dimbo Italiano storyline, Isabella, I'm definitely starting to suspect more of being secretly evil this week.
She's evil because she was smoking.
Well, yeah, she does. She kind of... She's not doesn't make herself popular with anybody else on the street at the moment, does she? Like Mary particularly, she's really riling up. She calls her Maria, saying it's a much prettier name at the beginning of Monday's episode, and when Brian orders some cappuccino, Isabella demands espressos. So she's like, got a bit of a temper towards her.
She's got an Italian temperament.
Yeah. And so they go to the bistro later in the episode, and she's kind of dubious about their menu there. He wants to order the bolognese, it's a taste of home, and she's like, no, I don't think so.
Bolognese.
So they go to the Rovers.
I would not recommend an Italian eat bolognese in any place in this country.
You make a good bolognese.
I wouldn't give it to an Italian.
So they go outside the bistro, and this is where Isabella offers him a smoke, and he's like, oh, well, yeah, I suppose I better, because he's just like desperate to win the approval of this exotic cousin of his that's appeared out of nowhere. And he's like, oh yeah, I used to be a 40-a-day man back when I was at Oxford. Polly, I think he's done that before. I don't think, I'm sure that has been his very, very occasional thing to say Polly under his breath when he talks about where. Yeah. So anyway, Mary sees this and starts stomping over to him and says, "What the heck? You don't smoke. Why are you doing this?
My style.
This is not the Brian that I know." And he's like, "No, but it's the Brian that I always wanted to be." And so screw you, Mary. Basically, they head back inside, which Mary joins them with, and she's trying to act all normal. And they talk about the idea. They float the idea of Brian going back to Naples to visit Isabella once her flat is fixed. So she's got something kind of mysterious going on with her flat there. Wednesday's episode, we just get a couple of scenes with Brian and Mary, and he's saying, oh yeah, you're right, that smoking thing was a bit silly yesterday. I can't believe I was doing it, just to impress Isabella. That was not me. But he is a little bit sad that she's returning to Italy tomorrow. And then we have some scenes in number 11 with the shipbuilding competition. And this has kind of disappeared off the radar for a few weeks, hadn't it? But remember this competition that Brian and George are in? Well, it's the big day today, and they're starting to get things ready to pack up into the cars to go off to it. And they kind of shake hands because, Brian had accused... Was it Brian accused George of stealing the Maidenhead, or was it the other way around? I don't remember.
It was George accusing Brian.
Oh, yeah, okay, fine. But anyway, they make up. And then George says, all right, you can carry your boat in the back of my hearse with mine if you like. But then when she's left alone in the lounge, Isabella sneaks over to George's ship with a tube of super glue and glues it to the table, the minx.
Can't believe it.
So George comes up to try and pick it up later, and obviously he can't get it off of the table, and Brian's there tugging away with him. That sounds a bit rude. And the ship the front of the ship, what is it, the bow? Is that the front of the ship? I don't know. Yes. It kind of comes off in his hand. So they kind of squaring up to each other and saying, oh, you did it on purpose. And Isabella's just sitting there going, oh, it was me. And George has to be convinced by Mary that this was Isabella that did this. She's had her number ever since she stepped on off that tram on the first week. And this is just further proof as far as she's concerned. And Todd says, well, you can't accuse Isabella of doing this without proof. Sorry. And then just when they're in the middle of that, George finds his maidenhead down the side of the sofa or something, and it just basically turns out that everyone's been making groundless accusations against each other for a little while with this. So they have this engineered meet-up in the bistro later, and Brian and George kind of apologise to each other. Doesn't George have to, or was it Mary? I can't remember. Have to apologise to Isabella for accusing her of gluing the ship to the table, and that kind of ends. And there's a kind of a truce, but there definitely is some ill feeling between certain members of that particular group of friends towards the end of the episode.
Think that Isabella is called Isabella after Isabella Flanagan, who plays Hope, and it's but it's like a tip off to us, like it's a meta joke that she's evil, just like Hope.
Oh, it's a clue. It's a clue, maybe. So they're talking about on Friday's episode this trip to Naples that Brian wants to have, and Mary's not happy with it, especially when it turns out that because Isabella's only got one room in the flat, Mary can't go along because they're not a couple yet. Now Isabella goes off, got to catch her plane, but she comes back later sobbing her heart out, saying, oh, there's subsidence in my flat, in my flat, and it's not safe for me to return there. Oh, I'm homeless. And rather than going back to Italy and just staying with the numerous friends that she probably has, which Mary suggests, she decides she's just going to stay on in Weatherfield for a little bit longer because she loves it here so much.
It's so handy that after she's had such a catastrophic event that feels almost insurmountable, she had somebody that would take her in.
So there's not much that happened in tonight. Mary gets a bit suspicious of Isabella still. Isn't there a bit where Isabella's picking up a glass and she's got sticky fingers, and Mary's like, oh, that's probably the super glue from last episode, which I don't know whether that'd still be on there and sticking, but never mind. And Isabella says, oh, well, you jealous of the time that I get to spend with Brian, are you? So it feels like that this is some kind of long-winded way of finally getting Brian and Mary together, which has been teased since Christmas time, wasn't it? What did you think about the whole, is Isabella staying, is she going, or no, she's actually staying? Are you pleased that she's sticking around a little bit longer?
I am thinking, I'm liking that she's obviously up to something, isn't she?
She's got to be up. I wasn't convinced at the beginning, but I've really enjoyed her kind of getting people's backs up throughout the week, and she seems like, she's. I mean, it seems very cliche to say, but she is a kind of a fiery personality. And does she actually really like Brian? Because he's not the most easy person to like, probably, if you're a stranger, and the type of person that Isabella is just doesn't seem like they gel with the sort of person that Brian is. Is she actually his cousin?
Can I ask another question? Is she even Italian? I don't think she is. I think it's all a big scam. I think it's going to turn out to be like...
is it going to be like Fred and his Thai bride orchid?
Yeah, I honestly think at the end of this, she's going to be like, you can flame and do one as well, Mary. It all would have been fine if it hadn't been for you and your meddling maidenhead.
I think I would have believed her if she hadn't told that story about her subsidence. And it was when she started doing that, I was going, I don't think I believe you at the moment.
Well, I mean, the international shorthand for evil villain on Coronation Street is they smoke. They haven't had
with actual
a character
cigarettes
smoke a cigarette since I think Peter tried to burn down the.
Yeah,
the
Peter's
boat.
been a bit of a fag smoker, hasn't he? But not for a while. And then there was obviously Vicky as well, Irish Vicky.
Yeah, fagging and shagging with Abby and Peter on the boat. We also had Irish Vicky smoking, and I don't think anybody else, and even Liz before she left was vaping. Yeah. I don't understand why nobody vapes on Coronation Street.
Oh, some people do, don't they?
I don't think so. No, I haven't seen anybody do. Maybe it's health and safety because of COVID. You're not allowed to vape.
I think it's one of these things that's like maybe they don't want to promote it too much because there is a bit of a growing problem with vaping in the country, isn't there? And all the the kids being attracted by the colourful packets and everything.
Michael, can I tell you something?
What's that?
If you want to put the kids off vaping, you just have to get Brian Packham to start doing it on Coronation Street. It's not going to be cool anymore.
Anyway, so this was a massive filler story of the week, but it was a welcome reprieve from the wall-to-wall tragedy of Faye leaving and Paul losing the use of his right leg. So I'm not complaining too much about it.
I mean, we take our diversions where we can, don't we?
Yeah. Well, my much preferred diversion this week, I have to say, was the Sam and Hope story, which sadly only got one episode on Monday, but it was quite fun stuff. So do you want to remind us a little bit about what happened with them?
So this is Eliza's first day, isn't it?
At Weatherfield High, yeah.
So Stu and Yasmin take her to the bus stop, and Hope's put out when Sam's like, "Oh, I'll sit next to you on the bus," because obviously they sit together, and so they're talking about this party that's going to go on. Because they had the party last week and it all went wrong because Hope gave everybody the wrong day.
Yeah.
So they decided to redo it for this day and they're going to have it at speed dial.
It feels like everything that happened on Monday's episode could have just happened on Friday last week.
Yeah, I don't get it, but
maybe there just wasn't time to fit it in.
So they're talking about this party and they say, "Oh, we've got a surprise for you, make it go exciting." And Hope's really mad because she feels left out. The party starts later and Roy is in the kitchen and he's mixing up some kind of chemical to do a science experiment.
I love that little thing between Roy and Sam where he's like, "Oh, Dr. Bunsen, blah, blah, blah. Well, Dr. Bernard, blah, blah, blah." It was so cute.
It was.
I mean, not necessarily the go-to thing for a young girl's, 10th birthday party or 11th birthday party, or how old she is, but it was fun for me to watch anyway, so I don't care whether Isa liked it or not.
So they're mixing this chemicals together and then they walk off and leave it. And Hope is just watching this. And so she's looking at it like, "Oh yeah." So later on, Eliza's looking a bit down because it doesn't look like anybody's really enjoying this party. But then Roy and Sam bring out the science mobile. So they've got this talent show. And Hope's excited because she knows that chaos is about to ensue. So they do the old chestnut everybody loves. The paper mache volcano that has bicarbonate of soda and vinegar inside it. So it all foams up. But when they
all good.
try to do this potassium experiment, he mixes the chemicals together and there's a huge pillar of flame. And Yasmin's like, "Oh, the fire hydrant." And Eliza's upset and everyone's mad. And people have left because they thought everything was going to catch on fire. And Eliza's saying to Sam, some of the parents have complained about the fact that there was a big fire. So Roy and Sam go around number 6 to try to apologise for this. And Eliza's like, "You're a nerd, I don't want anything to do with you. You ruined my party." So back at number 9, Hope and Sam are together and she admits that she's the one who was behind the big mishap. And she says she added a bit more potassium to the mix. And it was hilarious. And Sam can't believe this. "Why would you do that?" Tyrone comes down and Sam tells him he's the one that did it, but he splits up with Hope and he
accidentally
leaves. He says, "It's not me, it's you," and he leaves. And Tyrone comes back and finds Hope is sad.
I was so disappointed that this story didn't carry on for the rest of the week.
By accident.
What do you mean?
What do you mean he broke up by accident?
What do you mean? No, I didn't. What was it? No. He accidentally put more potassium in the liquid. That's what that interruption was. No. Sam's taking the blame for it, taking the rap for it. Very noble of him, but it doesn't stop him from kicking Hope to the curb.
Yeah.
I'm as much fun as Sam and Hope together has been for a little bit. I don't see necessarily... It's ridiculous. It's talking about them as if they're 10 years older, saying, I don't know whether I can see any long-term potential in that relationship. I just think that Sam going out with arsonist Hope is asking for trouble, and I'd much rather he settled for the maybe a bit more boring but a lot safer Eliza. And I think she's a little bit more on an intellectual level as well.
Eliza doesn't deserve Sam because she reacted too negatively to this explosion. If you want to date Sam, you have to be able to deal with a few scientific mishaps.
But how did you find the stunt? Did you enjoy the it's better than the last fire they had in Speed Dial was Stu setting fire to it, where they had a couple of matches held up in front of the camera in the most unconvincing inferno I've ever seen on Coronation Street. But I thought this was quite good.
It was fun. I mean, I think Eliza's a bit of a square, really. I don't think she's worth dating.
Well, but I think
it was the best thing that ever happened to my party.
Well, it was a bit like our wedding when Rachel set the menu on fire, wasn't it?
Rachel, it was Lisa.
Oh, sorry. I was a bit gutted for Sam when Eliza called him a nerd and said she doesn't want to do anything to do with him anymore.
Have you just noticed this, love?
What's Hope gonna do now? Do you think she's gonna be plotting her revenge on Eliza? Does she blame Eliza for this, or is she gonna try and win Sam back, or is she the sort that's like, well,
I think she's not gonna.
I'm not gonna beg for anyone.
No, she won't let it slide. It's a matter of principle. I don't think she even cares whether she's dating Sam now. She just doesn't want anyone else to.
Has she learned a lesson that setting fire to things isn't necessarily always going to lead to things going her way?
No. It's not, Michael, it's not the fires that are the problem. It's everyone's reaction to the fires that causes the issue.
I don't know how long they can string on this Hope likes fire. You know, it's starting to get a little bit old, maybe.
It's a lifelong fascination. I think, I don't know how this is going to end. I'm just thrilled by Hope. I want her to stay in the show for a long time. But I also really want her
there's level 3 of them.
To kill somebody.
I've got a feeling that she is going to be a bit psychotic. I think they're probably lining up to be, Tracy 2.0.
I really, really want her to, because, when we had Pat Phelan in the show and then he had his exit, we spoke to Conor McIntyre and he was saying he really wants a femme fatale, he wants a female villain on Corrie, and we've been saying the same thing for a long time, and there have been some really memorable villains on Corrie, but none of them have really been women. We did our top 5 female villains, didn't we, for the Patreon, and we went through, so that's worth listening to if you're a Patreon member. But there's not been anybody who's even in the same league as the male villains, and really Hope is. I feel like she's been genetically engineered.
The problem is there's still a long time to wait before they can do anything big.
I really want them to wait.
11 now, properly. Is she?
Yeah.
How long? What's the youngest you think you can have a character like Hope say, right, I'm going on a proper villainous killing spree now?
Is that I don't want them to recast Hope. But I can see them, if they get impatient, when she gets to like 16 or so, recasting somebody who's 20 or something, and saying, now we can do what we like, because the actress is an adult.
And if they're going to age her up, they're also going to need to age Sam up as well.
And don't want that to happen either.
No.
But the thing is, the other thing I'm going to say is that Hope and Sam are both... They look their age or younger. The most actors on Corrie are older than the characters they play, but Sam and Hope, they look young anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether they will take a long time to grow out of that. I think we all know from growing up, there are just people that you go to school with who look like kids up until they get married, and there are people who they turn 13 and suddenly they look like they could be 25.
So do you think that 16 years old is a good year for Hope to, start doing it seriously?
I want them to keep Isabella, and so I want that, I'm willing to wait until she's 18, 20, I don't know.
I just don't know how long they can keep up this shtick. Are we going to get tired of it before she's able to go full hardcore?
They've done it for a long time, and I'm content with where it is going at the moment.
Okay, right, so the Roy storyline this week.
But anyway, what do you guys think? Because I know that mileage varies on what you think of. Even Sam, I know that some people...
Oh yeah, he's certainly not, universally loved. But I think he's continually one of my,
favourites.
Yeah, well, he's a favourite character going on at the moment. So Roy this week, Freddie, he's apparently developed a it's
Freddie the dog.
Freddie the dog, not Freddie Smith, the ex-garage mechanic.
I know, but I forgot who Freddie was for a moment.
Not like in Cats.
This is the dog
C80s.
This is the dog that was bequeathed to him by his now dead friend.
Yes.
Fellow Batwatcher.
Yes. And so Roy just basically this week has a couple of heart clutching moments to remind us that he's not feeling too chipper. And so he goes to on a walk with Freddie and Evelyn on Wednesday's episode, and he gets a bit too out of puff when he gets to Victoria Gardens, and they sit down and Roy's saying, look, it's fine, it's just my high blood pressure. Evelyn's like, no, you need to go and see Dr. Gaddis about this is serious. And then when they go back to the cafe, it transpires that he's just ignored this for the time being, and it could get worse, and it does on Friday, because whilst Roy's out walking Freddie at the precinct, Freddie chases after a cat, Roy chases after Freddie, and he almost has a flipping heart attack in the middle of the precinct. Luckily, Evelyn just happens to be there, popping out of the bakery or something, and she phones the ambulance, but could have been curtains for Roy.
How embarrassing would it be to die outside Sweet Enough?
So they go to the hospital. Evelyn's finally been able to convince him that he should probably see some professional about this.
Outside of it.
Yeah, of course. Time to the railings there. Roy's had his blood test done. He's had his ECG. Evelyn's clearly anxious, and she's making lots of comments about the fact that it's very slow, and that thing about the thing she says about the other customers. What is it? Patients being called in before them, even though they came after. I think everybody's had something like that in a doctor's surgery.
Listen, if I'm at A&E and people are going in front of me, I am thrilled to hear about it, because it means I'm not going to die.
Yeah. Well, this is like, when you had to go to hospital a few months ago. We were there for hours and hours and hours. At least it meant that we didn't think that they were seriously worried about you.
Well, my brain wasn't going to explode anytime soon.
Well, Evelyn gets a bit teary about Cerberus later, because Roy's basically told, you can go soon. And she's getting a bit sad about being alone and everything, and the fact that she, Cerberus popped his clogs a couple of months ago, and she was worried that Roy was going to be following after him, and Roy's like, don't worry, I'm going to be fine, and he touches her hand. That's the most intimacy we've seen from Roy for about 10 years, isn't it? And so then the doctor or nurse or consultant or whoever comes in and says, right, you got angina, Roy, you're going to need a stent. Easy common
easy
procedure.
Come, easy go.
And Roy and Evelyn says, right, you're going to have to tell Nina about this now. And Roy's like, no, she doesn't need to know this. This person said it's a simple procedure. She doesn't even need to know. And Evelyn's like, well, what about your recuperation afterwards? So they hatch a plan for him to say that he's going to rill for a couple of weeks for some sea air. And Nina buys it.
So is he going to have to be... Is he going to be in hospital for a while?
No, well, I don't know whether it's in hospital or whether it's just lying around in a bed.
The Ronald McDonald house.
I don't think so.
For very old children who are being stubborn.
Yeah, I'm not particularly intrigued or anything by the idea that Nina doesn't know what's going on with Roy, and sometimes she'll find out and she'll go, "Oh, why didn't you tell me?" It's like that's not particularly anything interesting for me. I'm finding the story not particularly boring because it's got Evelyn and Roy in, who are great characters played by fine actors. The actual plot bit of it itself isn't anything to write home about, but it's keeping me engaged just because of the pick of characters that are involved in it.
Yeah, I just really we always say, if I was a producer, I'd blah blah blah. If I was a producer, I would ban, I can never let so and so know this secret. I would ban that for a year.
And it's always about medical things as well, isn't it? Like what Roy's doing at the moment is just the same
Paul.
as what Paul's doing.
I would also ban doing parallel storylines, which seems to have been for the past 2 years they've been doing that. It reminds me of when we had Ant's Life and Bugs Life, whatever it is.
Ants and Bugs Life, yeah.
And then we had Dante's Inferno and oh god, the volcano's exploding or whatever that other film was called.
There's got to be some kind of moment where Paul's at the hospital and Roy's at the hospital and they spot each other and we go, well, it's Thailand.
And they do the Spider-Man point.
Yeah. I'm not minding this story. I think I prefer it to the Isabella stuff just because of the characters that are involved, but it's fairly low key and fillerish, isn't it? So, speaking of which, the roof, Gemma.
The roof.
The roof.
The roof is on fire.
Not yet, but who knows for next week.
On Monday, Tracy and Steve are heading down to the bank to check their credit cards because they want to get a loan. This is for the defence, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
For
Amy.
Amy. So they're gonna so Angie comes out. Angie's come from EastEnders to sort them out. Aggie comes and says, "Oi, this scaffolding, it's a load of old crap." And Tracy says, "It's not ready, go away." So after work, Aggie moans to Ed about this and says, "When are they going to get this fixed?" And Ed says, "Well, they're suing about Amy, so they haven't got any money." And Aggie feels really bad about this because she didn't realise and says, "I've got an idea, by Jove." So she goes round to see Tracy and she says, "Look, Ed's going to go, he's going to refit this, he's going to sort it out, it's on the house, literally." So Steve and Ed are chatting about this and Steve thanks him and Ed says, "Look, I can do everything apart from take the scaffolding down. Whoever put this up is going to have to come and take this down after I've finished." So on Wednesday, Ed's just moaning about how much work he's got.
He needs more people to help him out, and
because Paul's being selfish.
That wasn't right.
Get Craig to do it, like we said in the bonus episode.
I can't believe
Craig should be a builder.
They've spent the best part of 10 months just moaning about this roofing, and I know that the idea was posited, towards the end of last year that maybe Ed should just go up there, but really it's taken them this long to say, "Fine, I'll just do it myself." I mean, nice of them to do it. They didn't have to.
Well, for free it is.
Oh yeah, I mean the free bit is definitely a bonus, but it should have happened a long time ago, and I am fairly convinced that there's something that's had to change behind the scenes at Coronation Street to leave this scaffolding up here for so long.
Was not the original
but
plan.
I think the fact that this has been brought up now definitely makes it look quite likely that there's going to be some scaffolding related happenings during Britain's Got Talent week, don't you think?
I know, but
it's got to be Justin.
It's going to be some kind of Justin running around on like a little squirrel.
I think it makes sense because it feels like Justin's going to get away with everything. I don't know how he can get away with the acid attack because, like people have been saying, there is copious evidence that he did it.
Or maybe he'll run away from the court.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe he won't even get to trial because he's out at the moment, isn't he?
We've seen him staring, haven't we?
Yeah, well, it's so in the Justin storyline this week, it's his hearing about when he attacked Daisy in Victoria Gardens, and we don't get to see any of this. Just Daisy being very anxious by her phone.
Right, so that was the bit where she goaded him.
Yeah. Into
attacking her, and I wouldn't normally say that, but that was literally her plan. Like it's not your fault if somebody attacks you, but she literally wanted him to do that so that the police would see him accosting her physically, and then she could get him in trouble. Yeah. So that this is that trial, not the trial for the acid attack.
Yeah, exactly. So Daisy's just staring at her phone for most of the episode, waiting to find the news about this, and then it turns out that he has pled guilty to that, but the judge has decided to wait until the main trial thing next week before sentencing. Is that a thing you do? You say you've been doubly naughty, mister, so just hold fire on this. I don't know.
I think I'm fair. It's fair for me to say that I am not an expert in soap law.
No. So Daisy's like, what's going on? Why is he pleading guilty to this but not about the acid attack when there's clearly so much evidence about the acid attack? And Daniel says, look, he's probably just trying to spend more time with you. Try not to worry about it. He's going to be behind bars before we know it. But Daisy is really worrying that he's going to talk his way out of it. And then we have a scene at the end of the episode where back at home Daniel says, look, I'm sure Justin hasn't got a credible case here. He's just in denial. He's gonna get sent down. And then there's a little bit more of Daisy texting Ryan as Crystal as well. And then they go outside, and this is when we see a point of view shot from somebody kind of halfway down the street on the terrace side of the road watching Daniel and Daisy leaving the house. We can only assume it's Justin.
Yeah. Or Freddie.
It's not Freddie.
Well, how high off the ground was it?
Well,
was it the
fairly
cat?
High.
The cat could have been sitting on a car.
Do you have any... How do you think this is going to go? How do you think the trial's going to go?
I didn't do it! You did? No! Okay, alright. It doesn't seem like he did it. Okay, you can go then. Bye! And then runs to the scaffolding for some reason, runs up on it and goes, Daisy! And then she goes, what? And she climbs up and then he tries to push her and then he falls off and dies.
I just seem to... I'm
pretty sure that's exactly how it's
idea of
gonna
him climbing up the scaffolding because he wants to, like, climb into their bedroom or something creepy like that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, I don't know, we'll see.
Are all the attics still connected?
I hope that...
Because he could go through Curly's viewing port.
I just hope that it's big and exciting because I don't think that the wedding and Paul's storyline is going to cut it.
I'm going to say there's a bit of a danger here of recreating the Jeff, Yasmin, Alia scene.
I don't mind that.
Which was fine for the time that it was filmed in because it was COVID. But I'm not convinced that anybody wanted that as the finale. I think they did a great job with but I think it was obvious that they had a lot of restrictions that limited what they could do.
Yeah.
And I don't think we necessarily need another rooftop death scene with a wrong'un. Like, how many years? 2-3 years after
I don't know whether he'll even die. He maybe will just get sort of badly injured and end up in hospital and then that's the last we see of him.
Who's going to peck his face off?
So that's kind of where I reckon that's going to go. Paul... Yeah, everyone's going to know, I think, by the end of the week about his condition. And then is this Roy and Evelyn storyline carrying into next week? I'm not sure.
I'm not convinced also that I want a romance between
Roy and Evelyn.
I'm really... I
think Corrie would be too scared to make it happen.
I prefer the flirting and the innuendos to a natural relationship because I don't see it working.
The thing is, they know that they've got two fantastic actors in David Nilsson and Maureen Lipman, and they work so well together.
Yeah, but I think the will they, won't they, and the kind of like does she like him or not? I can't even tell if she likes him.
Well, I mean, she's looking for a Cerberus replacement in her life at the moment. But
she wants another
I think
dog.
that she's very, very fond of him, and I think it feels like she's possibly falling for him.
Yeah, but I like that. I don't want them to be sitting at home together going, what do you want to watch? Thomas the Tank Engine?
Right, character of the week and scores of the week. I haven't actually given any thought to my score of the week this week. I mean, I thought it was generally fine, but I wasn't feeling all of the mega sadness. I'm gonna say 3 bits of Paul's body shutting down bit by bit out of 5 this week. What about you?
3.5 euphemisms for neutering, which I have to give a shout out. Ian Kershaw wrote the episode where Evelyn was going through all the different... I thought that was great. I bet he had a great time writing that.
I don't know whether anyone mega stands out for character of the week. I don't want to say Paul.
To Faye, because she's gone.
No. I mean, did she give it to her because she finally, made the decision to do something positive with her life? I don't know. Isabella was quite fun. You're yawning your head off. I'm struggling to stay awake here. Sorry. I hope that that's not the same with our lovely listeners. Isabella was fun, glowing the boat to the table.
Gluing.
Yes, gluing.
Who's a glowing?
No. I think that maybe. Oh god, I've forgotten all names of characters. I enjoyed Roy and I enjoyed Evelyn. Maybe Evelyn, character of the week this week for being a good friend to Roy and making him see the doctor when he needed it.
I am gonna give it to... Probably gonna give it to Paul. Sad, isn't it?
Why? What's he done to deserve it?
Sad.
Oh, do you reckon that we're going to love next week?
I'm not convinced.
I'm sorry.
We will have to see, won't we?
Yeah.
We are going to be in Manchester when we record next week's podcast, so we'll not be just full
we're
of
not
the
going to
joys
be in
of Corrie.
Manchester. We're going to be like half an hour south of Manchester because you can afford to be in Manchester.
Oh yeah. We have not got anywhere in the centre of Manchester to stay next week.
Still being scalped for it.
Yeah, we'll be further north than we are now, should we say, for next week's recording.
Only slightly.
We might just, hopefully be in the mood. Right. So that is it. That is it for this week's Street Talk.